This is dank talk, man. This is getting me high.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Being Vulnerable. Got a very special guest for y'all today. Um, the homie, Mando Uniq. Man, Mando Uniq. Did I say it right?
Mondo Unique. You got it.
And I'm Chris, aka Carpal Tunnel. I'm gonna let the homie introduce himself and let you know who he is.
Mondo Unique. I feel weird when people are like, who I am. That's a weird question to me. I'm too introspective for that, and just a dude who makes music. Uh, I love just spreading light. I feel like a lot of people got a lot of light in themselves, and it's hard to like connect and give that off. That's why I want to come on the show. I'm glad to be here because it's just like being vulnerable and giving those pieces of you that feel like they're hard to give, but nah, I mean, yeah, it's just me. That's it. Just giving myself out, just a dude who makes music, trying to get better,
And,
learning.
and so people know this is not me as my doppelganger. I'm not playing two roles at the same time.
I should shave the beard.
At least I shave, so yeah, because
Yeah,
usually I have the beard.
yeah. No, that's what I was saying, man. It's like me, you, like you said, your brother looks like you, me, you, him. We should do a doppelganger thing, music video.
Literally, you could be my stunt double when it comes out to.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Everything you got going on with this is just, I've been watching a lot of them. I mean, it's cool. This is cool stuff.
I'm glad you connected with it too. I've actually gotten some people who've been like expressed after the fact of like the show being like, you helped me be vulnerable with my family that I have never like they never really thought about actually just sitting down and being vulnerable with their kids, being vulnerable
Yeah.
with their significant other and actually just having conversations that's vulnerable. I don't did you listen to that rap song Being Vulnerable that I kind of shared that was on Dabs Labs and stuff. It's part of my album, but it's like I need to re-record my vocals because I kind of was slurring a lot. There was a lot of S's that I used in my rap, but
I do that so much and people tell me not to, but you know what? Sometimes you
it
got to.
it yeah, because it was something that was like, why didn't I think of this before? I should have made a song called Being Vulnerable. I'm like,
Oh yeah.
and making it as a rap song too is was like perfect because it goes against rap culture to be vulnerable like that on a track. So like that's what I'm saying is being vulnerable is beautiful when it's
Yeah.
suitable, it's usable. Like yeah.
It's usable. Okay. Hell yeah. Now I remember that. I think I don't remember it as clearly as I'd want to like you're saying, remember those keywords, but I think I do remember what you're talking about now. But no, that's something that like once again, I just feel in you that reminds me so much of my best bud, dude, is because like and it's trippy to say because like I have very strong opinions and like sometimes like even my emotions conflict me with people that are good people. You can connect with almost
Yeah.
anyone if you're open and being vulnerable to it. But like the rap thing, man, that you just said is like something that is so essential to me because like I want to make rap music that has that where it's not like and this is why I'm saying it's like it's not me shitting on people that are like braggadocious or like trying to be super hard all the time.
Yeah.
I love that shit. That's some of my favorite music. But like there's a space in there where it's like real quick story if I can. Like
You're good.
we played it me and my buddy played the show and we had all these songs that are like not conventional rap songs. They're open. It's a couple off my album, Imperfect. And after the show, some of his buddies that he raps with, they came on stage the dude who was leading the shit, and he was like, "You ready for some real rap?" And we were like, "Oh, oh, dude." And
Right?
I didn't even like acknowledge it, but he came and told me, he's like, "Man, that fucking hurt." And I was like, "Damn!" Like, just because we're like being vulnerable and like expressing feelings, like people are like, "That's not real rap." And I mean, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not saying hard rap's not real rap. Obviously, that's some of my favorite shit. But it's like there's a space for like conveying emotions and stuff that people don't want to talk about because they think it makes them look weak. But I think that's empowering, and
Shit.
I think rap needs that.
Tupac was the one who was he's like the first rapper who was vulnerable, like with changes and wrote a song Dear Mom about his mom. Like all of that was some very like he changed the rap game in that way where it allowed people to have a safe space to be able to communicate stuff that had more meaning. Like compared to what was all going on at that time too with rap was like gangs and disses and all this stuff. Which Tupac was really good at. Like how I said in that thing, like hit 'em up, still the best diss track I've ever heard. But
So good, so good. Yeah.
uh,
No, you were saying that about Tupac, and I didn't even. Once again, I didn't even like that didn't register in my brain, but that's very true. Like he was all right, like giving that side of himself and
shit,
pioneer man.
his ha, have you ever seen his poetry book?
Uh-uh.
So I think this was in middle school. They were like, you go to the library and you pick a book and then write about it. I was going through and I found Tupac's poetry book that it was basically all of his poetry that he had written, but he never shared it with anybody. And this was after he passed. His mom basically compiled all of his poems and did it where like on the left side of the page was his actual handwriting of like writing these poems. And like he even used shapes and he would draw on it, do all this like crazy stuff. And then what she did was she just like, typed them up to put it on the right page. So you'd be able to read it like through text.
Yeah,
But like
yeah,
yeah, that because he wasn't sharing it with anybody. His
for sure.
poems, his deep heart that he wanted to share, he wasn't sharing
Oh
it
yeah.
because it wasn't really accepted, and he had to put on that like thug life personality. His poems are
Oh yeah.
so deep and emotional, and you get to see that the human being behind all that. Like he wrote a lot about love. He wrote a lot about connections and community. All these things that not really. I mean, there's rap songs out there about it, but like what he hid from the world with his poetry books, you could tell it was just for him. Like,
I mean, sometimes that's where it really hits the best is stuff that's just for you. I mean, I always saw that a lot in his documentaries where it was like they kind of catch him off guard while they're recording him, and he talks like really deeply about that stuff. And and something I always thought about with Tupac is like he's got like these really big albums, but he had tons of music out. Like
yeah,
he has I don't even know what his discography was, but I know there's a bunch of albums that people just don't even really like know about. And like I don't know, he was one of those guys that was just making tons of music
I mean, there's
for
so many
sure.
songs that are like so mixtape that no one had heard. Like Tupac did a song with Tech Nine. A lot of people never even
Yep.
heard that song because
That's what I'm saying.
it wasn't released on an album.
It wasn't industry. It
Yeah,
wasn't in that. And when you were saying too, like that thug life thing is like something I kind of think about a lot with Tupac is the more that he got around certain people, the more that he
yeah,
really just like doubled down in that, because he knew people had his back. He knew that like that was the image that was selling. I feel like that was something that just I always think about, like that whole thing that happened in the casino. Like I
yeah,
feel like a lot of it was like he was just like he felt so comfortable embodying that it started to he started to just really like lean into that a whole lot more than than like he was before, I think.
yeah. Like just even with his poetry and just like how he's they were like they would have been great songs and great verses that he could have actually put out to the world, but he was also in that industry of toxic masculinity where especially within the rap, like these were songs that were so important to him, but or poems that I feel like he could not share because he was supposed to be like he felt that this whole having to put up that guard, having to hide who you truly are, having to hide your feelings. Like, you know,
Oh yeah. I feel like a big part of vulnerability for me is like when you connect with people, it's really hard to like say things that you think might not be received well. Cause like something that you just hit me is like that was one of the best ways I've really ever heard toxic masculinity. Cause I'm one of those people that's like, toxic masculinity, but like, I mean, you know, like sometimes I don't really see it. Sometimes I see where what people like, what I think it would really mean. And that's a really good way of putting it, where it's like, if you show weakness that you're like not masculine or you're like not strong to some extent. And I mean that would make perfect sense because I mean like I see that all the time and no that's a good way of hitting that hit.
yeah, like Tupac loved theater. Like,
Yeah, oh
like
yeah.
he wanted to be in plays. He wanted to be able to be himself. I mean, I myself, like I had never really learned that until I took a theater class in college that I'm actually more myself when I'm acting because I could actually be more emotional and vulnerable than I was able to do on, like the streets. Because anytime I would cry, I would be like basically picked on or like bullied or like, and all of my emotions when they hit the heaviest part of him, anger, sadness, love, happiness, I cry. That's like the top of the emotions, and yeah, like people would point me out because of that. So they would try to be like, especially when it was in high school and because I'd get so angry, I would cry, and then people would be like, "Oh, you little bitch, you little baby."
Oh yeah.
Like anytime someone was wanting to fight me, I would cry before it. It has to do with the anger part of
Oh yeah.
because I never wanted to fight, but
Yeah.
people are trying to fight me, and I have to defend myself. I can't just I would also then act crazy. I learned this thing from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Like you got a tick in your and there's something wrong with you, and like literally that actually worked. People got so afraid of me. It was just to not be in a fight, and like that was the best way I was able to deflect fights back in the day.
Oh yeah. No, I was listening to the one video you did with Spectre, and I was hearing a lot about that, and man, I resonated with that so much because like you were talking a lot about like being around people that like sort of encouraged your emotions, and then also being around a lot of people that just immediately saw weakness in that.
Yeah,
And I felt so much of that my whole life, like being a little kid. Like, I mean, I'll be honest, like my whole life I've never really been anywhere near some real street shit, but I've always been around it enough
yeah,
that like I mean I learned young just to stay away from that as much as possible, and I'm truly thankful for that. But there's a lot of times where like people would sense that weakness in me, and it's like it would be a nature to me to just be more emotional afterwards and then get ridiculed for it or like feel like that's the only way I knew how to respond was to like wig out or cry or you know I remember you were talking about like being young and like hurting yourself, and that's something, man, I used to slam my head into the wall. I
yeah,
used to punch things. uh and I also was around enough to like to have people encourage like feeling things through, and that's something I'm also like extremely grateful for because like it, it's really polarizing. Like my dad, my stepfather, he he taught me a lot like taking shit but also like when I was truly feeling something, he'd come and sit down with me. He's like, men can cry too. Like you're allowed to feel these things and you're allowed to like process your emotions how you need to process your emotions.
Yeah.
Uh, and I mean, I got real thick skin just being around my family. Like people love talking shit. Um, Nowadays doesn't really do a whole lot to me. I've become accustomed to people trying to give me shit and them not even knowing that I'm like, ah, whatever, man, you know. But no, I've definitely been like a very empathetic soul, and I feel way too much. Like I feel to an extent where it's like, yeah, when I would get into something or it'd be like a fight, like that's exactly what happened. I'd start like my eyes would start watering, I'd start tearing up, and then like like once I pass a threshold, there's just like there's no the anger is just I just black out and like and like I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just gonna start fucking. Actually, you were talking to balls, and this is another thing that I really love. Is like you were saying like you go straight to choking people. Man, that was the same thing. Like when I got into a fight with someone, the first thing I would do is try and put them in a headlock with my legs. I'm a small dude, and I had one of my buddies who's like fucking massive, and I was like on his neck, just like fucking trying to make sure he wasn't like drop his back into me or fucking knock me out or something. But I'm just like fucking trying to just get him because that's I mean like I don't want to fight no one. I'm a pacifist,
Yeah.
but like you're saying, you got to protect yourself. So you know, it's like it's a strange thing because for someone that isn't about that to be just pushed to those limits, like you see a whole lot of stuff that just contradicts. It's like, are you mad? Are you sad? Are you like handling it well? Are you gonna freak out? It's like I don't know. I never really knew how to handle like people being violent towards me. It just came out in like a cluster of being calm and then freaking the fuck out, and then I regret it. But you know,
Same here. Like I would, like it always made me feel bad because of the empathy thing. Is I don't want to hurt nobody, even if they're trying to hurt me. I'm, I will still feel bad for that.
yeah,
I still feel bad for choking the people that I choked, but the whole point of me doing that was to get them to stop trying to hit me, like stop
oh
trying
yeah,
to, yeah, and like yeah, that's so cool that you actually experienced that too, because you actually might be the first person that I've talked to about this that has experienced that. Like,
no, no, that hit me so deep because like I could tell like my cousin always had anger problems. We're like the same age. He's a little bit older than me. And like as a kid, like you get him mad, he's going to fucking wig out. And I
yeah,
remember one time like he was trying to punch me, he was trying to fuck me up, and I got him in a hold, and he was just wigging out the whole time. And I'm just like, "Are you gonna calm down?" And it was somebody had to come and break us up. And even all the way up into high school, like there was this kid who would always give me shit because I didn't speak Spanish, and he
oh,
was
that's weird.
Russian, dude. He's a Russian dude, and he would always just like say stuff to me in Spanish to try and like I don't know, try and like piss me off. We were playing knee ball one time in gym, and he decided to like come and try and like wrestle me up and say some shit in Spanish just to try and get me going. And I put him in a hold, and I was just like I was about to choke him out, and somebody comes over, and then I'm like, my bad, dude. Like I don't know why you're trying to fucking what are you trying to do here? Like why are you trying to fight me? I'm not trying to. I don't want to fight no one. I don't want
Yeah,
to fight you. I don't give a shit that you know more Spanish than me or whatever the fuck. Like, and then he stopped doing that, and he was cool after that. But it was like it works me up because I'm like I'm not the dude that wants to fight no one. Why
yeah,
you know why are people? I think they see that like they think that you're that person that won't do nothing, and then you're like, nah, that's not me. I'm gonna do something, but I don't want to, you know.
yeah.
But I felt that choking thing, and that was yeah, that's
That's
where I'm at. Like fucking got the holds, and
the whole not speaking Spanish thing. That is actually a thing that I dealt with because I I was raised by my great aunt, my grandmother from Cuba and stuff that so I like know how to understand Spanish really good, but I learned English at the same time. It's actually what people say that's where my stutter comes from, is not knowing what, like I would literally be like me leche, because I'd be trying to say
Yeah,
milk, but my brain just could not comprehend that.
for
But
sure.
but going into like middle and high school, like I like the Hispanics never accepted me because I could not speak Spanish. I could understand
Yeah,
what they were saying, but like that was one of those things like people would be like, don't call yourself brown. Like they kind of not accepted me that way because I was too white to be brown. I was too brown to be white. So I was like always this mixed child that just never had a true community. The only community I kind of had was with the outcast, the Pokemon playing, video game playing, the comic book reading, like the. But they did accept me because they weren't accepted by everyone else. So they saw me for who I was, and it was But we were always the ones that got bullied. We're always the ones that got picked on. But me
for
being
sure.
who I was able to kind of protect them in that way. Um, me being
That's
a
awesome.
Yeah, me being an athlete too. That because I do protect. I don't want to fight, but I will protect. If
Oh yeah.
someone's picking on the little guy, I'm gonna be the first one to be like, you have to deal with me first. And I
The,
usually use words and stuff to do it, but
oh
um,
yeah.
also just my stature, I'd be able to just be like,
Yeah,
which did help a lot of people, and it also made them feel safer
for
that
sure.
they had someone to protect them in those times.
Yeah, see, that was another thing I really felt is like growing up, because I grew up in a really small town. Like elementary school, like I don't know, I always think about like old soul type stuff. Like I just felt like a lot of like social dynamics and stuff I didn't really like get caught in a lot as a young kid. And
Yeah,
then middle school came up and I could see cliques more starting to form. And once again, like I come from a background where it's like I have a lot of like family that like were into like gang shit or like shit like that. And it was just kind of like a second nature to like do certain things. And I remember one of my close homies, she showed me the Dickies. Man, I was rocking Dickies all fucking middle school. And I started like I love the color blue.
yeah,
And I don't know why, but I always hated the color red. Not anymore. I'm not a color person now, rock anything, but I always rock blue. And everywhere I go, people were like, "Man, are you in a gang? Like, are you a Crip or something?" And I'm like, "Man, do you know where the fuck we're at? Like, no, there's no fucking none of that shit even exists around here, you know." And I had like short hair down to like here, so I look like an emo in fucking Dickies and blue tees. But then when high school came up, it was like all my friends that were like white country dudes went one way. All my friends that were like Mexican homies went the other way. And then all the like outcast kids kind of went another way. And I was blessed because I've always been I mean, nowadays I'm just average, but back then I was like, I was a tiny kid.
yeah.
And everyone just like wanted to protect me, which was great because I got to like, I got first day of high school, we had this place called the Corner. They called it the Mexican Corner, where
Okay.
all the homies hung out. All the Mexican homies hung out, and I met that girl who showed me the Dickies older brother, and he was like, "You're my son. You're gonna be a little bro." And fucking him and his buddy were like taking me everywhere. We went to like where their hoods were at and shit, and you know he was a good like older, and he was like he was accepted around all the people that were like banging and shit, but like he was like he was about school. It was about fucking getting shit right. He was one of those people that rejected like being strictly cliques, and it made me really see like how a lot of people will like fall into like certain groups, and then people will stand out and say fuck that, like that's my homie over there still, whatever, I don't give a fuck what he's, you know. And I
Yeah.
would see that, like I would see people from the countryside that would just they instantly just turned like they wanted to be racist. They wanted to be fucking fuck this, fuck that. And when they came to me with that energy, I just give it right back to them and they'd be all fucking, oh, you know, and I'm like, nah, dude, you're gonna be a fucking dick. I'm gonna be I'm gonna give you that same shit back. But then there's homies that were like, yo, Mondo, that's my boy still. And I'm like, see, this, you don't gotta be you don't gotta like go with the crowd all the time. And I was really thankful to be like, I mean, like I kind of outcast myself, but I was always able to just go in and out of other groups and walk up to any group and just be like, hey, let's go do some shit or, But yeah, no, the whole like not brown enough to be brown, not white enough to be white thing, I mean, like that was a hard thing, man, because you go into a group and they're just like, no matter where you go, they're like, man,
Yeah.
you're not this enough. And it's like, fuck you, I'm just me. Why do I gotta be whatever the fuck you're trying to stereo me as, I never fuck with that shit.
I I wish I was a little smart enough back then in the day to be able to like comprehend all that stuff because I'd only comprehended it when I was an adult and being able to be like reevaluating how much that actually affected me. Affected my identity, affected just my sense of belonging. Everything you just said too feels so freaking connected to you, brother.
Dude,
um,
that's what I'm saying. Like it's strange too, because like I mean it wasn't that big of a deal or whatever, but how we first kind of like met or whatever, like talking about I hate talking about politics and shit or religion
yeah,
because what always happens is like people will assume off of an opinion of something that they'll think something of somebody, and I do that same shit, and that's actually like it's partly me too, or well, I'm not saying it's you, but I'm saying what I mean. Like if I talk about God, people are like, this guy hates gay people, and he thinks that if you don't do this, you're going to hell. It's like, man, that's not even. I mean, like, or like you say like like I love America, man. I mean like I know a lot of people or whatever. I mean it's not a perfect place, but it's like I say some shit like that, and it's just like man, and I think that's a box again where it's like it's
mm,
crazy because like individual people are so hard to condense, and like you were saying about identity, like I was so thankful that I got roasted by the like every day by my family to know that like there's people that'll just roast the fuck out of you, but they don't mean none of that shit. And it gave me this thick skin where this like I'm saying this country motherfucker will be like saying some racist shit. And I'll be like, man, I'll say some shit that's kind of racist back to him, like, hey, fuck you, go do that, go fuck your cousin or whatever, say some shit that's just as dumb as what he's saying. And then it's like he's like, oh shit, I'm like, okay. And I mean like when I met my best buddy, like he experienced a lot of racism too, and like and like I think it's okay to like not accept that shit and be sensitive about it because it's something that affects you and that like you can't let that shit slide, right?
yeah,
I don't really take I try not to take anything personally because like I've just heard so much shit in my life from people that don't mean the shit and that are genuine decent people, but like they just don't know how to talk.
yeah,
It sucks because like some of my best boys, they love saying shit that's just the dumbest stuff ever, and I'm like, I'm not me anymore.
yeah,
And this is something I was gonna touch on because like when I was young in middle school and shit, man, I would say anything. It was like that Xbox Live days where I was just like flaming everybody for everything. And honestly, like I feel bad for those people because they have so much hatred in their heart. Like I have a song where I said, I used to be a bully punching down because it felt so holy.
okay,
Like
nice,
I used to be the motherfucker that would like say whatever because I wanted to follow the group. I wanted to fit in with the people who were ooh we were cool because you're saying some dumb shit. Not anymore, dude. I met my best bud and he like changed my life. Where it's like I was already way past that shit, but like even nowadays I'm just so much more conscious with like how I interact with people and like when I know people that like you have to take shit seriously sometimes. You have to read the room.
yeah,
And it's crazy because like I hear that shit now and I'm like, man, you guys are just you're just like fucking middle schoolers still. Like it's
yeah.
stupid. Like not me.
I,
I'll laugh at some shit, but I'm like, man, you guys are just dumb. You're just saying shit just to say shit. And it's I don't know.
I
Like I'm so glad I turned that page in my book.
no,
Like
I understand that completely because for me, it's my my older brothers, they still have not been able to gain this perspective. So they don't think they're being racist. And they hate the fact that I will call them out on this shit now. When I at
Oh
the
yeah.
back in the day, I would just follow what they were saying, you know. But I was the one who first was the one that was like in the family to be like, this is wrong what you guys are saying. You guys are like my brother's homophobia. I cannot stand when they start talking homophobic, and I'm like, love is love. That's like a positive thing. You guys
Facts.
are hating positivity. You're hating someone
Facts.
for loving somebody. Like what?
Oh
Like,
yeah.
but they're like, well, we don't understand it, and it's like, well, you don't have to understand it. You just have to understand that they are being themselves, and they're actually this man. I look up to so many different people in the LGBTQ community because they're being themselves. They have so much courage that like I when I was able to finally, reconcile all the stuff in my mind of like what was actually going on, like I never was homophobic. I would just follow my older brothers because they're supposed to be
Yep.
that. And
Yep.
I I feel so ashamed about all of that stuff because I didn't understand, but when I finally understood, it was like they gave me courage because I wanted to be as strong as someone who's able to, you know, love who they want to love. Like that. That
Yeah.
is that is
Yeah.
that is something I look up to so much.
Being yourself, man. I love that you said that because it's like that's the thing that like I've always understood that. It was just like you were saying, like a lot of people don't understand, and so they make fun of stuff that they don't understand. And they think that their ignorance isn't actually hatred. And this is where it gets me. This is where I was saying I feel bad for people that are constantly like that because it feels more like self-hatred than outside hatred. You know what I mean? They're
Yeah.
like, I don't want to understand it, so I'm going to shit on it so that I don't have to acknowledge and process things that I don't understand, which is just doing more harm to yourself than anything. It's it's like a like Drew, like my best buddy, man. Like we were working at 502s, and we went out there one day and we were just freestyling for shits and giggles because people were doing that. And me and him got to talking about God and stuff. And it was weird because we were both kind of like feeling each other out. And it was weird. We both connected on the same thing where it's like so many people, when you talk about God, they're like, this guy hates gay people. And I was like, dude, right? Why is that like the first thing that like you go to?
Yeah.
I read scripture. I like scripture a lot. And I don't think that that's what any of that says at all. Like I think it's insanely trippy when you get to like, I mean, I'm not a Christian, but like a lot of people that are like into that realm, they talk about acceptance and loving people, but then they're like, only if you do these things and you're this way and you knock all these dots and but it's always their perspective, you know what I mean? It's never like the universe or like the all like the everything. And
It's
like you said, love is love, man. How you gonna go and look at love and be like, nope, going to hell?
I mean, the
It's
first
a
thing they say in the scripture is God is love. So if someone loves someone, they're so closer to God. Yeah, like yeah, just even you saying that. So I've had multiple people on the show
yeah.
who, when they start talking about their faith, they immediately like retract and they're like, "Oh, I don't want that to be out there because I don't want to be judged for being religious, being faithful." Um,
I wouldn't say I'm religious to be fair, but you
I,
know,
I'm spiritual. I'm
yeah, yeah. I mean,
I'm
I read scripture, but religion is like any other sense of like indoctrination. Like it's like
yeah.
one, I don't know, I feel like it's like one person telling you how to believe and how to connect with God instead of you connecting with the source energy. I just yeah,
I don't even know if I even kept this into any of my being vulnerable, but I was saved by God. I was saved by something I can't understand. which made me go into like when went back to school, I was doing philosophy classes and religious stuff. Like I was like one class away from having a religious studies minor
Yo,
because of, and then like reading every single different type of scripture from all of the different around the world is like everyone was saying the same thing: love, peace, and understanding.
facts,
That those are the
facts.
things all religions talk about. Like I wrote a paper called Abrahamic Faith, and it's about how Christian Judaism and Muslim Islam
Muslims, yeah.
they it basically all came from the same origination. And then the fact that like Taoism and the fact that Shinto, Hinduism, all of them are saying the same exact stuff. They're
Oh
just
yeah.
they're trying to give some they're trying to give moral values and try to teach love.
Oh
And
yeah.
that is one thing I can get a little angry about is that people don't ex like they think their faith is wrong, their God is wrong, and all this stuff. And it's like it's the same
It's
God.
the same. It's the
It,
same. It's the same God. That's what I love calling it the Most High because it's a math. Like I met in middle school. I met one of my homies, and he told me he was an atheist. And this is a weird roundabout, but he said, I said, what happens when you die then, right? Because back then, like I wasn't Christian, but my dad was Christian. My dad or my mom was Catholic, so I was kind of like I just believed in God. I didn't believe in Jesus or whatever, but it's like nothing. And I was like, man, nothing would be bliss to not feel pain, to not have all these worries and stuff. And I started getting into math and science. And it's just like, if you imagine everything, there's always something outside of everything. And that's what God is to me. God is literally just photons and like everything that contains what we are, an objective, like split, like the yin yang shit. Like good can't exist without evil. There's evil and good. There's good and evil. It's just like it's a construct, but it's also our connection with how we perceive that. Like,
it's also mathematical, like positive and negative charges. There is something that is positive, like yeah. Um,
no, this is sorry, this is cool shit because you talking about God saving you is the same thing. My boy, he went through that same thing. And I mean, like, I never was like saved or nothing, but like, I truly feel like my connection with God and discovering that brought me such an abundance of peace because instead of like thinking that like I'm searching for this purpose and whatnot, I just understand that like I can't fathom what everything means, but it's not in my hands. There's something outside of everything that has already predestined everything, and it's just we just get to experience that in the physical form.
I don't think we're supposed to fathom it. That is
Yeah, well, I don't think
like that's the one thing, like, because I tried to fathom what happened to me, and by doing all these religious studies, reading all the different biblical texts and stuff, and yeah, we're not supposed to understand the fact that there's religious wars and all this stuff, like people trying to put their own faith onto someone else, like that. None of that is in any religious text.
yep, yep.
Um, and just the fact that we all have different languages, we all have different ways to view ourselves. Because so what happened with me is at my lowest point when I became I I was trying to kill myself slowly with drugs and alcohol and whatever it took because I was just like that unhappy with where I was at, with the world, with just everything. I became a meth addict, and that was something that was it was like the first thing that I could not control, and
Yeah,
it brought me down to my lowest point in life where I was just like, because I was always had the fear of taking my own life. So like I was trying to do it where like naturally took my life by doing drugs and alcohol and everything like that. And at my lowest point where I had given up on everything, um, all of a sudden I got this like experience where it, how I talked about my great aunt, my grandmother, my great aunt. She came to me because she had passed away. She came to
Yeah.
me in this vision and basically just told me everything's going to be okay. Just believe in yourself. You're going to be okay. And that it was that day I quit meth in one day with and never went back to it. And just that experience, because I was like crying tears of happiness and joy. Like I've never felt
Yeah.
that type of joy. And it
Yeah.
came to me at my lowest moment. Um, and then from that, that's when kept I picked the guitar back up, kept trying to teach myself, which allowed me to start being able to learn again. I went back to college and then I ended up graduating with a 4.0 from my community college and going on to the university and became a student leader, someone people looked up to. I was a peer advisor, helping people get jobs, helping people with resumes. I Then I became an RA. I was helping people with their emotional health and stuff. Like my whole journey though started at that moment when at my lowest point in life. And now I'm in such a place of like changing people's lives and like
Oh yeah.
it is such an experience that I try to figure it out what, and that's why I was doing philosophy and religion classes of like what was this experience that I had, because it literally changed me in a day.
Oh
Like
yeah.
you could even see it in my writing. Like the couple days before when I was writing poetry, it was all negative and it was about hate and it was about hating myself and um there's a lot of sadness in it. And then that next day when I started writing poetry, it was all about positive and love and it was about trying to bring light into people's hearts.
Yeah.
So I know that there is something because something changed me. And the fact that the only thing I could think of is God. It was God
Oh yeah.
coming through my or my great aunt coming to me with God's voice, whatever it was. I know I know that I'm not supposed to understand it. I just
Yeah.
have to accept that that happened because it changed me. I mean, I've never even thought about drugs anymore. Like I
That's beautiful.
I'm still a drinker, but I'm that that wasn't what was killing me. It
Yeah.
was, and I was able to quit something that is like almost impossible to quit
Facts.
in one
Yeah.
day
Overnight.
overnight.
Overnight. Yeah. I mean, I almost want to like my boy's not on social medias and stuff, but he has such a similar experience where it was like lowest to low, did some shit, saw got had a vision, and he had ran away, and so he had to go. Like after he had that vision, he went to the first place he could find, and it was a church. And his dad found him at the church and was like, "I'm thankful you came to the church." And after that, it was just like it's like you were handed a message. Like it was like you were handed this message, and almost like that you're saying like you're not supposed to understand, because I think the seeking of that is what really is what really like solidifies my bond. Is like a lot of people want to, like you're saying, like tell you what it is, define things so like concrete, like you got to believe this thing this way, you got to read this parable this way.
Yeah.
But for me, it's the constant connection that I have to looking for reasons or purposes, or like understanding that I can't understand, and then moving forward with that, knowing that there's a reason that I want to, even though I know that I can't.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's an inherent thing that really just hits me all the time. It's like I'm here for a reason, and I think even like a lot of people end up going out not knowing what that reason was or why their reason was. But I think that's the beauty of it, is that you're constantly searching for it.
Have you seen my musical?
I did. So I was watching. I think it was the balls when we were talking about the first homie you met on Threads.
Oh, Nekos.
Yeah, Nekos. You were saying how Nekos was checking out your musical. I went and watched that musical, dude. I watched the film one.
Yeah.
Oh man, that was so inspiring. I love the cinematography in that so much. Like that's something I've always been interested in as well. I used to make movies as a kid, and just watching that and hearing about how like this is what you wanted to do and knew that you wanted to do, and then
Yeah.
like almost people just not acknowledging it around your circles, but then people like finally like discovering this thing and being like, so
Yeah.
yeah, check that out.
That's
I loved it. And cinematography was something that's just like so deep and has like all these messages inside of it that are just like you can understand the messages, but then there's just so much more that you're like, I see what you're doing there.
I, I forget which episode I actually talk about this on. But have have you heard how that came to be?
Oh,
I had fallen back down to a low point again. Um,
yeah,
Literally it was like I had like 1 week to create something to make as my junior thesis project to, and I had all these people like kind of relying on me, all the people like my all the people that worked on the film to create something. They were giving me the chance. It was the first time I kind of got that chance and had
yeah,
crew and stuff, and I could not think of anything, and I was like the only thing I could think of was I wanted to make a musical. I wanted to make something that was like one take type of cinematography, but I could not come up with an idea. And like I fell into a very dark place where I was literally I went to um the roof of my dorms basically, and I was about to leap. I was about to kill myself. And all of a sudden I got another vision. I got another thing that was like save me from jumping. And it was like turn this moment into something other people can find meaning in. Put this
man,
suffering into meaning. And that that next after that I was able I like literally wrote the whole thing. I composed it in that week and I brought it to the people that were relying on me, and like it was like something like it's so meta because that character that is exactly what I went through trying to write the musical is in that moment what happened was the voice of hope and reason came together and basically talked me out of jumping, and that's what the two characters in the character's head. That's the voice. The girl is the voice of hope, and the man is the voice of reason. And when they came together to tell me that they're turn this in, your pain is a pearl in a shell of a riddle. You just gotta share this. This is gonna change other people's lives. And so it was no longer about me. It was about other people and being able to take that moment of trying to take my own life is yeah, it's still so hard for me to still kind of comprehend, but I'm not sure if I'm supposed to. It's that musical is what was making me go into that dark place, and then it saved me. You're taking
yeah,
your suffering and putting it into a message. That whole experience, I still, my life has not been that low since that time. Like, as I was able to help people. Um, I was
that's
able to,
crazy.
yeah, I was able to showcase it too at a mental health event at my college, and
Damn,
so many people were coming up to me after, and they were like, "You put into words and into music exactly what I needed to hear," and like the fact that it is actually helping people's mental health. Like I feel so humbled by it, and I almost want to cry about how much that it actually means to other people. But that, yeah, like
definitely.
literally what happened that day is changed my life, but it's now changing other people's life to hear it. Yeah.
for sure.
Like,
I feel like that's one of those moments of like it's trippy to me where it's like revelations, man, where it's like like you were given like you were going through this thing and then you were given something came to you and that thing not only saved your life, but it will impact lives for as long as it exists.
yeah,
And not only that, but like man, it's trippy because you like you were saying like that's the thing that brought you into it, but it's also the thing that got you out of it,
yeah.
but you got to capture it. I don't know. That's
It,
wild. That's a wild.
it's
That's crazy.
that's why it's so
That's
meta.
crazy.
Like, I still can't comprehend because the character is me trying to make a meaning of suffering. So like I was able to put that all into words. And that's why I like was able to write it in that night because I was putting my emotions into it and I was putting that voice of hope and reason onto paper. Like the same messages that came to me is what was going through it.
You deliver that message. We were a vessel for that message, as well as the vessel in the message. When you're explaining it, it's like almost like both of the voices had like contradictions to them. But the thing was that like I don't know, I just feel like I could understand that weight because like when you were first talking about it, it was like a lot of people were dependent on it and like they're looking towards you and like it's just like a chain of events that I feel like a lot of people like it's really hard for people to put themselves in other people's shoes, but to be in your shoes and everyone not really know how much that you're like suffering to find this thing, like that's a heavy weight. That's a real heavy weight. And like you put it on yourself too. So it's like those voices would contradict to not only like have ways to tell you not to do it, but then also deliver the ways that it can be. I don't know. That's trippy.
That's why it's
That's
so
trippy.
that's why it's so meta is that it was like
Yeah.
they literally they were the things that were doing me wrong, but also the things that came together to help me. Because
That makes sense.
I had never put those voices together in my head. Like those voices were always separate. Hope and
Oh
reason.
yeah.
Yeah, because reason says you can't do it. You know how many people make it? Not many.
This reminds me of another thing you were talking about, and I even commented on it on one of those posts. But that reminds me of the two sides of like emotion and logic, right?
Yeah,
Because we can feel these things, like feel like you're supposed to do this thing, feel like maybe you're not or whatever, and that's like the hope. Like that's like you embody, like you can't explain it. It's just a feeling. And then there's the logic, which is reason, which is like, oh, you're not good at this, you're not good at that, you have to do this thing or whatever it is, and a lot of times those are very contradicting things. But I think like once again, not being able to comprehend something like that, those things also are very intertwined.
yeah,
And I mean that's something I always think about, which is like logic is logic and emotion is emotion, but those are both things that are an individual perception.
yeah.
Like like logic is it can be factual, we can have objective logic, but logic also comes through understanding what it is, whereas emotion is almost the exact same thing. Like you can tell when you're happy, you can tell when you're sad, you can tell when you're mad, but also like it comes from within to be able to not only project that but to feel that.
You're gonna like my full length one because I'm making it into a full length musical where I have
Hell
the
yeah.
external voices too, the societal voice,
Yeah.
which was a big part of why I felt how I did. Like why I got to that point was in college trying to do something that is different as like film, like society telling me like um you're not worthy enough. You're not, you know, 'cause that's what the out external world that I was living in was telling me.
Oh yeah.
And that's what led to the point where I started questioning hope. Where
Oh yeah.
I said, your faith in me was a poison. That's like a line in when she casts hopes out of her mind. Because that's what I kind
Yeah.
of did at that time when I was going to the ledge, is I casted hope out of my mind. But then reason came in. It was like, what a shame you're doing, shaming me. That's what that voice was
Oh
doing.
yeah.
And so like that even made me feel lower, but it also made me feel like I can't I like I'm letting everybody down when I jump
Oh
off this
yeah.
ledge. And then hope came in. And
No,
then
that's what I that's where I was saying. Like I could feel how like people could I go through life all the time and I see people feeling and experiencing things, and I can tell how people could just never fathom putting themselves in their shoes. It's like when a homie goes through a super bad breakup and all he's hearing is like, "Oh, it's gonna get better.
yeah.
Things are gonna be it's gonna turn around." And it's like, let him fucking feel sad. Let him make let them experience this thing. I always go to quotes and stuff. But you were just reminding me heavily, like you were talking about reading scriptures and stuff, but that just reminded me heavily of like Job, where it's like this dude who's always done good is like being tested by the devil and God, and like they're making him sick, they're making him ill, and his best buddies come around. They're like, "What did he do? He must have done something wrong. Let's put more pressure on him," you know? And it's just like the weight that that person can feel is something you would just never understand, even if they like, I don't know, just like experiencing the thing, like you're saying, like it conveys the message beautifully, and it helps people because it's almost like you could never understand that, even as that, like those people you're talking about when you went and performed that, like they're like, how are you inside my fucking brain? Like
Yeah.
how did you go through my personal experience, feel these things, and then convey that message? And it's still so like individual to themselves, but then they're like, that's on a fucking screen. That's wild, man. I
That's
love that.
it,
I love that.
it's
And
crazy.
the art forms in it are
It,
writing, music,
uh,
filmography,
it's crazy
badass shit, man.
too that you mentioned that too, is because the people who never experienced a mental health event like that, on like they were like, I finally kind of understand how you can question that voice of positivity in your head. And
Oh yeah.
like they and even my family's experience with it, like they never knew I was going through that, but it's because it's something so internal. It's like, I mean, at that moment I didn't call any friends, I didn't call any family and try to, you
Yeah.
know, but I was called by these voices, the voice of
Yeah.
hope and reason. Like, yeah, I it's hidden in there, but all of the aspects of it, like I don't specifically say this is the voice of hope and reason. Um, I don't even name their names, but they're anima and animus, which is the voice, like they say everyone has the voice of a feminine side and the male side, which is basically your mom and father that
Yeah.
that speaks to you. And
Yeah.
yeah, like
Well, it's because like we're saying, it's like it's something that you can convey really well and people can understand, but it's also still just like unexplainable to a
yeah,
point where it's like you can't get it, but are you supposed to fully get you could only fully get it if we were you,
yeah,
you know? But then
and
you do find a way to find like to put it in this medium where it's like, damn, like I had this experience of like those battling forces. And yeah, that's just wild, man. That's just
and
wild and super. I mean, like, I just think it's super cool. Like, it just inspired me on so many levels.
Thank you for joining this episode of Being Vulnerable. Um, this is going to be in two parts. In the meantime, go follow Mando Uniq, and we'll see you next episode on Being Vulnerable. Stay safe. I'm going to put all his links below. So definitely go follow the homie.